Hello, America.
Welcome to Angel and the Wiz.
We have on YouTube a site that's a Wizard Christmas because of Jason's coming to me and wanting me to do a CD. Okay, so now it has blossomed, and what you're looking at is the box cover to the 2-disc CD and DVD set, which will be coming out before Thanksgiving. And get this, Glenn Mack says, do everything that you're going to do. Send it over to me. I will add strings, and organs, and bells. It's going to be really nice.
Yay!
Yes, that's so cool. So, but of course, it means a lot of work, and I hate to think about it, but I'll be okay.
You'll be fine.
I'll be fine. That's what I keep telling myself. So what do we talk about?
If I could live my life, then you could do that.
Well, it still is, you know.
What?
No, it's not a good O. It's a bad O. It's the fact that I'm trying to. I called the other day and asked you. This is so cute. I called you if you knew any lawyers, and
he sent me an email and I didn't respond because I didn't know any lawyers.
You know, but
well,
then
the ones I knew, I wasn't going to let you talk to.
Oh, okay. But I needed them for very similar things.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. But anyway, so let me see. I don't know. What should we talk about this week? What's new? We don't want to talk. We don't want to talk about the fact that the 45th president of the United States.
No, we're not talking about her.
Is going to be,
Ooh,
if we're lucky,
talking about Christine O'Donnell.
A wonderful, wonderful, dedicated woman. I'm still waiting to get my copy of The Undefeated for you to see, so that you can see what a great lady this is. What a fine, upstanding. She has every quality that she has. You would appreciate. You have the qualities. You each share some of the same qualities, and that's nice. Even though you might be of a different political persuasion, but you are reasonable and you are smart, and that's what makes you the perfect person. You know, I mean, the perfect. I walked into that one, didn't I? The perfect audience for you're always way ahead. You know, the perfect audience for...
That one was for you, Mackenzie.
Yeah, I bet you. Hey, now I talked to her the other day, and she said she had some topics. I said, send it to me an email. So we'll say, Mackenzie sent this topic, and she said, oh, no.
That's what I told her. She goes, why does he want me to send an email? I just told him.
So we could talk.
I said, because then we can talk about you.
Yeah, we can say,
Mackenzie... We can talk about you anyway.
Mackenzie at work, sent us this thing, and,
I know what the topic was.
What was it?
It was about something about the work ethic between current new employees fresh out of college and the older generation.
Now my question would be to her, what does she find? I would think that, here, let me make not a general statement, but I would bet you that the work ethic is really based on the individual and not the age. Okay?
No, I'm going to say some of it is the age. Some of it's the generation.
Okay.
Some of it's the experiences. My students and those that are now coming into the workforce are part of what I like to call the now generation.
Okay.
They want something and they're going to get it. They're going to get it now.
Right.
Period.
Or they're going to cry and stamp their feet?
Yeah. So they're going to graduate college and they want the 6-figure salary now.
Don't happen like that.
It's not going to happen. You have to work for it. Well, they don't want to work for it.
I mean, work? I thought I went to school. Then I get the money, right?
Yeah, it's things like that. So, and then when it looks at, like, my generation is still... We were the start of the video game generation, but we still knew that we needed to work.
That there was work involved.
That there was work involved, yeah. And then, and who was I talking to the other day? Maybe someone from school. They had said something about kids raising,
Kids raising kids?
No, how parents are raising their children now. And I said, well, you have to remember that the adults that are getting married and having kids at this point are part of the video game generation.
Right.
The 30s, late 20s, early 30s, and we grew up with video games. We had Nintendo, and we helped develop. That's changing the way that the world functions and things.
Well, and I would share with you too that for whatever
I don't
it's
know
worth.
if I answered any question.
Well, no. But I'm just saying that I mean, I understand that it's great for hand-eye coordination and all those other kind of things, but oh,
What?
boy, I wish I knew how to say this right. Don't send me any letters on this because I can't quite say it right. But I didn't turn a little monitor so I could see how we're doing. Fine thing. But I'm starting to wonder if some of these kids that are not autistic, or I mean, I don't know what the right words are, but I'm really, really starting, because we see a lot of people.
Oh, the kids with that look like they've got special needs.
Yeah,
Is it because of
what
overexposure to video games or something?
No, what I'm starting to see is I think I'm seeing some kids that are running the system. In other words, I think because I've noticed.
Oh yeah,
that there are some people, and they're treating their kids like they have a problem, and they're working, and then then you'll see that little flash.
Oh, I see it all the time.
And you really wonder, there's nothing wrong with this kid. He's just got it figured out that if he plays this role, they'll treat him like this, and he can goof off for the rest of his life.
We see that all the time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was afraid. Now listen, okay, if your child really has a problem, then. But I'm just saying. There are definitely some kids that have figured it out.
Because this is what they do is maybe they had ADHD when they were younger.
Yeah, which is way overblown.
Right.
You know what it was called? You was a kid.
Right.
You were 4. Oh, sorry.
So say that they're diagnosed with that, and then their parents didn't read to them when they were younger, so the student can't read well.
Right.
So now they're being classified as having a reading disability.
Okay.
They're brilliant. They can do everything else. They just are a slow reader.
Right.
But they've been classified with a learning disability.
Okay.
So that follows them throughout their entire years. I've had conversations with kids, and I'm like, "You're fine," and they'll flat out admit to me, "Yeah, but I pretend." So so they can get extra services, and you just.
Wow.
There's nothing we can do about it because those documents, we call them their IEP. Okay. Which is an individualized education plan, and it's required by the state. Mm-hmm. And each state probably has different acronyms for it, but it's required by the state. Any student who is classified as a student with special needs, and those are students what we would call special education, but we don't call that anymore. Special needs students.
We don't want to offend anyone.
Right. Special needs students have to. Every special needs student has to have an individualized education plan, or an IEP, that documents what accommodations classroom teachers are required to make so the student can become a better learner. Right. And the most common ones are more time allowed on tests,
right.
And then sitting in the front.
Right.
So I'll have a student that I'll see their IEP, and I'll know that, they have a reading disability. Teach math. Well, do they necessarily need to sit in front but they have to sit near the front of the classroom. Right. And if they ask me, "Miss, I didn't finish the test, can I have more time?" I have to talk to their what we call case manager.
Okay. We used to call them counselors.
Yeah, no, they're not counselors.
Okay.
They're
social workers?
No, not social workers.
They work for the school?
They work for the school. These are people who are teachers, but all they do is corral these kids and monitor their progress in school.
Okay.
These students with special needs.
Right.
So we call them case managers.
Right.
So I have to talk to that student's case manager to find a time where they can sit with that case manager and finish their test.
Wow.
Yeah, but we don't openly offer it, because if we do, then that usually involves talking to the kid, creating a disruption, having somebody risk overhearing that I have to give, that this kid's going to need more time.
Person,
yeah, and then
there's that ramification.
Yeah.
See?
Well, the whole class knows that I'm stupid.
Well, and you know what I mean?
Maybe you are.
Maybe you are. Maybe you are. And that's what I mean. And we've talked about this before. Things
Please don't send me letters either.
So balled up. Do you know what I mean? When we grew up in school, we didn't have any of that. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about understanding dyslexia, where the brain is turning
right.
things around.
There are legitimate things, but you
right.
see it in
But there's
in
way
kids all
too
the time.
much of this other garbage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's and
then what happens is that the students that really need the services don't get them.
Right.
And then there are parents who are afraid to have their child classified. There are students who need the services as well and don't get them because the parents don't want their children classified as being stupid,
right,
or having a disability. And
right.
so, what do I have? Then I have to figure out something to do with that child, because here's a child that needs to have somebody monitor them, that needs to have special accommodations, and and needs to have the other benefits that come along with the program.
Right.
And so it's frustrating as an educator, but
and now,
you make do with it.
And it's like, and I saw something the other day that I had never seen before, and here I am. I'm doing what I do, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing what I do, and this young man, this young kid, is sitting in the way. Okay, and here's mom and dad, and the kid is sitting down in the we're done. They move, the next people come over, okay? And I say something, and he says something about either he's acting out or he's having a tantrum. Yeah, he's having a tantrum. Yeah, so?
Yeah.
You pick him up, you pat him on the ass, and you move him
well,
along.
To pat him on the
And he looked at me like, well, you want to move him?
Yeah,
and I'm thinking to myself, who's the parent in this situation? And that kid was allowed to sit there until he decided to move. Whoa, my mother I'm telling you, parents are not what they were. And I'm not saying they were all good, but I'm telling you that before the government and the states and all these people got involved, what we're doing to these kids, we're creating little monsters. And maybe not, I know. It's just like this, wow, this guy, Alan West, Colonel West, he's a senator from, or a congressman or something like that from the state of Florida. And he said something the other day about how the Democrats have allowed certain black representatives to keep the black people as Democrats. And he talked about, the way he phrased it was about being on the plantation, and there was some plantation masters that were designed. And we talked about this once before, where the civil rights movement has accomplished so much, but nobody wants to give it any credit. They still want to keep it, where there's still a civil rights problem. There's still a civil rights problem. And it's like there are certain black leaders who survive on that, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, etc. That they don't want to cut it free.
As a Democrat, even I'm tired of a couple of them.
And the idea is, listen, I know what it was like growing up. I'm an old guy, okay? You cannot tell me the world is indifferent now. The world, listen, it doesn't. What Martin Luther King went through, he won. Mm-hmm. He got what he wanted. These are the people that are trying to churn up racism and keep blacks down, and they still need this and they still need that. They are not giving the black community what they deserve. You know what I mean? That's why I don't, I don't want to get into that. Because, oh, but you're a white guy. Let me tell you something. When I had long hair, I was treated just as bad as any black person got treated. There was places you couldn't go. This was years and years ago. But it's changed. I look at the people that I work with. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter where you come from, what country, what skin color. Everybody works together. None of that has any role. I mean, I never see that having any role.
I know what we could talk about.
What?
Can I change the topic?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So this stop popping in my head. So, I got a letter in my mailbox from my neighbor, which I found odd anyway. But she was saying that, not the neighbor that not the neighbor. She was saying that there are some people who rented a house down the street and have been using other people's driveways to turn around.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm a little. So then all of a sudden these private properties and share phone number signs started popping up all over this area where I live. This little turnaround. Not turn around, but there's a curve in the road.
Okay.
And this neighbor's all been out of shape about this. Like,
right. About people turning around other people's driveways.
Yeah, like.
Are they
the
dirt roads? Or
no,
they
here's our road. The road that there's houses on the road, and
Okay.
you have houses and garages and driveways. The road is not very wide, so if you have somebody parking on the street, not two cars can't pass. Like
I
one has
gotcha.
to. And if there's two cars at the same spot parked on either side of the street, you better pray to God that you aren't going to hit another one.
Okay.
So it's a tight street.
Okay.
And there are. The family that is renting the house has 3 cars.
Mm-hmm.
So if they park one way, so instead of following the road around, because you can follow it around.
Okay.
It's a U-shaped road.
Okay.
You enter.
You can come in
turn
and go
right.
out.
Yeah, you turn right, and if I just keep following the road around, I end up right back on the main driveway where I turn right. So instead of doing that, these people are pulling into other people's driveways every day to turn their car around and head in the opposite direction.
Rather than just right out to the road.
Yeah. And
I guess after a while, I could start to get you upset.
Well, I don't know that they're doing. I never seen them do this
Right.
because I'm not home when they're doing it.
Right.
This woman does nothing but sit around all day.
Okay.
So, another neighbor says that she has seen them do it, and she saw them do it in her driveway one time. But they never seen it in my house.
Right.
It's just, I was like, weird. I don't know. I have done that before,
Right.
not in my neighborhood, but when I'm going to somebody's house and I'm
Right.
not familiar with the neighborhood.
Right, and you don't know where it's going
and
stuff like that.
So
That's
you're
different.
looking. You've done that. You're looking at house numbers, you're looking at house
Excuse me.
numbers, and then you're like, oh, there it is.
Right.
But now you can't make the turn, so you
Right.
have to pull and go out because.
Sure.
So I've done that.
It's not
before.
abusive. It's not repetitive.
Yeah. So I don't know if I should take some sort of action.
Like how?
Yeah, it's like, what are we going to do? Kick the renters out?
Wow, you know, I mean, well, the thing is, funny that you would mention this. I know this has no interest. Well, you know what? Because listen, parking in the city is you got because they have sanitation has to come. Mm-hmm. You have alternate side of the street parking. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
on even days you park on the even side, and odd days you park on the odd.
Back and forth. Okay, so you got to get up and move your car and move over here, and so they are familiar. Those people that have cars with these kind of parking problems. We had a parking problem. I don't know how we got on parking, but a perfect example. In the apartment that I live in, there are 2 primary parking spots right out front. Okay, and there's like a whole, there's a whole street full of parking. Okay, a new person moved in and parked in one of the prime spots, and then put their motorcycle in there beside them. Now,
so
he meant it.
2 vehicles parked in the same
spot,
space.
right?
Okay.
Now, he meant it in a way of not using 2 spaces.
Right.
But what it did was it meant that nobody else but him could park in that spot.
Oh, got it.
Okay. Now, that's not acceptable.
Right.
Especially when you got that's right by the door.
Yeah. So people complained.
Yeah. So and when we finally did speak to him, and that's when we found out while he was just. And well, you can do that, but you can't do it in this spot. There's 2 spots. Everybody shares them. So now, in this particular case, we spoke to him in a very polite fashion. He was polite back. He works someplace like us, and he works the same place as us, and it worked out. And then what he did was he's still parking the 2 together, but he's doing it across the way.
Yeah, I saw them.
Nobody cares. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's funny.
Right, because it's prime property. If you pull up and that spot's free, it's like you won the lotto.
That's right.
Especially
you're really
when
happy
you
to
got a
get
car full
it.
of groceries. You don't have to lug them halfway
across
the world just to get them in
but it shows. So now this all boils down to communication, because that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to find a way to communicate to these people. What you're doing is causing agita here.
Yeah.
Just drive out and go away. There's no big deal. Well, another illustrative example of some of the ways we find ourselves. Some people cannot disengage from a talker. Okay, a gentleman that I knew, he was at work, and another person at work came over to talk to him. They stayed there for 20 minutes. He did not have the skills.
Right. I think we talked about skill set about this one.
Yeah, about disengaging. And I don't know where you learned that. And boy, you said something before that I want to just jump back on quick. Because the parents didn't read to the kids, they're slow readers and stuff like that. So is it safe to say that that's really an important time? When your children are growing up, you want to sit down and read them stories and books and stuff like that.
Between 0 and 3 years is when your baby is most susceptible to learning.
To learning that stuff?
Not learning those things, but identifying those things.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is it important that they sit so they can see the pages?
Yes.
Ah. See that? That's important stuff.
Yes.
Well,
it's very important. But a friend of mine is a little bit socially awkward. Not
duh.
Yeah, not that, but you can tell that when you go out to eat, you go out to eat in a nice restaurant, you take your napkin and you put it in your lap.
Right.
That's something that I have learned.
Yes. But you got to learn it. Not everybody learns it.
And this friend of mine doesn't do it.
Right.
Or didn't do it. I think that they're learning it.
Right.
But I learned from them that when they were younger, their father locked the TV in a cabinet, and the only time you can watch TV was when he was home.
Wow.
And which was very late at night, from between 9 and 10 o'clock, and then it was bedtime.
That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, that's such a great idea for kids. But then they said this. They said, I was unknowledgeable about current events.
Right.
They would go on Monday, the next, at school, they would be talking about the latest Saturday Night Live skit.
Right.
Or did you see this TV show?
Right.
And
they weren't in the loop.
And then they said, I also
did they withdraw then because they couldn't interact?
I think so. And then or they tried to compensate.
Oh.
But the compensation wasn't accurate because, you weren't making the correct references. And then they said that there's, so you learn, as much as we shun television for teaching bad things, you also learn
good things,
social skills from it. You learn by watching the TV show Friends. If you watch, you said how to eat dinner at watching. You learn skills when you. I can tell you that when I go to a fancy restaurant, I used to replay that scene in Pretty Woman where Julia Roberts was learning the silverware.
Wasn't that God, what a great flick?
Yeah, but I'm
yes.
If you don't have an opportunity to see that or see something,
right,
and you don't, and then your parents don't take you out to those places
right.
where you can observe that in action with others, you don't know that.
You don't learn it.
Yeah. So I think that they're finally, and it's not like I want to change who they are.
Oh no, but these are just simple skills.
Yeah.
Just like when and it still is amazing to me.
Because I find who they are completely endearing, but it's.
Yeah, but there's courtesies and manners and things like that haven't been built into them.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me too. I got when I get on.
But that was a light bulb when I heard that when they told me that story. That light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, well, now I understand why they say and do the things that they do. Yeah.
Right, sure. Well, when I get, sometimes I take a bus, and I drive my car, Mr. Obama. Okay, that's what we do. We're Americans.
You
we
take
drive.
The bus. You take the bus.
Sorry, I'll take the bus. And if there's people waiting to get on the bus, I let the women go on first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a thought. It's what you do. When you get on the bus, the reason I don't ever sit down, because if you sit down and some girl comes in, you got to get up anyway so she can sit down. And I'm starting to see less.
If you came on the bus, I'd get up so you can sit down.
Why? Because I'm old? Right? Okay. But
another one for you.
But the bottom line is, where is that? I mean, that shouldn't be disappearing. The kids should be taught that. We talk about this so many times on this show. Since you've been on, we have focused much more on parenting and parenting skills and things like that than we ever did before. But there's nowhere near enough training to being a parent.
I don't know if I'm dating somebody. I don't recall if they opened the door for me.
See? That should be automatic.
But I think sometimes, I know that it has happened before when I've been dressed up and it's like we're going out on an official, let's go out to dinner.
Excuse me.
So other times when I'm going to trivia night and we're walking into a bar and
there's no difference.
Yeah, I open the door.
Yeah, but there's no difference
Yeah.
because that's the guy's role. Now, I understand that got set back some years ago when the Gloria Steinem Brigade and the feminazis and all that, they're trying to prove that they were men.
Right, but if I am dressed up and looking nice and we're going out, I will stand by the door and wait for someone to open it for me.
Can I tell you?
And I've done that before. I've
stood and waited.
Not with this particular person, but with, many years ago, I've stood and waited, and then they were like, oh.
Well, see?
Thank you.
And the funny thing about when you say that.
And that was the last date we had, too.
Yeah, I believe it. When you say that, I this image comes to mind. I remember walking someplace with this girl, and she's a friend. Mm-hmm. And it might have even been the old angel, as a matter of fact. And it was just so funny because we were going to this place, and she walked up and stopped. You know what I mean? There was no hesitation. Right. She knew the door was going to be open for her, or with me, she probably didn't know it, but you know what I mean? It was like, there was nothing to think about. I'm the girl, you're going to open the door. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's nice I think it's nice to see. I don't think
I've also noticed, and this is when I am dressed up for school, and I'm looking professional, and, got the heels on, the dress on, the hair done, the accessories, doors get open more for me than if I'm in jeans and a t-shirt.
Well, that's because the feminazis have guys so balled up, they don't know if it's the right thing or the wrong thing. And when they see you in a feminine, they figure that's safe. You're feminine.
Another interesting things that have happened to me in the last couple days, weeks.
You got 20 seconds.
Okay. So, I am working. I was working at the school, and it was me and another lady. We're distributing student information out. I'm white. She's black.
Okay.
Plain as day. All the white people came to me.
Right.
Most of the white people came to me.
Right.
And most of the black people came to her, and the Hispanic people, if they were darker tone, went to her. If they were lighter tone, they went to me.
Right.
If they had to make a choice, sometimes if it was, if we were really busy and there was a long line, it was whoever was open came up.
Right.
But if there was nobody there and they stood between us and they would look and they would look, they would look and they would look, and we smiled, we were both pleasant, they would either go to her because of her skin or they come to me. I found that very intriguing.
Bye.
Have a great day. Do something good.
Bye.